Every sunrise is a reminder. The body wakes up with you, and sometimes it brings pain with it. A pain that is not only felt on the skin, but also in the bones or muscles, but also in the depths of the soul. Physical pain, when combined with anger, frustration, or fear, can become an invisible prison. But Buddha taught something transformative. The pain is inevitable, but suffering, it is optional. We cannot prevent the body from feeling, but we can choose how our mind inhabits it. We can learn to go through the discomfort with clarity, with compassion, with inner strength. Today, I want to share teachings with you Buddhists who will show you how to deal physical pain in a different way, not as an enemy, but as a teacher. Come with me, because what you will discover can change not only the way you experience the pain, but the way in which that you walk in your whole life. Breathe, place your hand on your heart, and walk with me step by step along this path. Let's get started. A young monk walked beside his teacher along a narrow path mountain. The breeze was fresh, and the sun barely shone, illuminated the passage between the rocks. In the midst of silence, suddenly, the disciple stumbled over a large stone and fell to the ground. His knee was opened with a wound, and the pain was so acute that tears sprouted immediately. "Master, it hurts too much," he exclaimed, with rage and despair. "Why does life have to be like this?" The teacher calmly lifted him up, shook off the dust and looked at it in silence for a few moments. Then he pointed at the stone and asked, "The blow has already passed, but tell me, is that stone keeps hitting you now?" The young man, still with tears in his eyes, looked at her confused and kept silence. Then the teacher added in a firm voice and compassionate, "The body hurts. Yes, that's real. It is natural. No one can avoid it. But it is the mind that takes that moment and turns it into a condemnation. If you keep repeating the hit over and over again inside you, you will suffer more than by the wound itself." He bent down and gently touched her knee of the disciple and continued, "Pain is an inevitable visitor in the path of life, but when you learn to accept it, it stops being enemy and becomes master. It reminds you that you are fragile, that you must take care of yourself. Everything passes." At that moment, the disciple understood what I had never seen. The pain was real, but the suffering, it was optional. The stone had not returned to hit him. It was his mind that kept doing. Pause right now and breathe deep. Feel the air coming in and out, like if with every inhalation you could bring clarity, and with each exhalation, release a part of the load. Think about that stone that hit you in your life, an illness that changed your way of moving, an accident that left scars, or that persistent pain that seems to remind you daily that your body is not invincible. The blow happened, the pain was real, not there. Is no doubt about that. But ask yourself bravely, am I carrying the wound beyond the moment when it happened? Am I the one who relives the blow in my mind over and over again? I am allowing a physical pain to become an emotional chain, endless. The teacher reminds us that pain does not, it is optional, but suffering is. The pain touches the body, but it is the mind that decides whether to turn it into prison or on the way. The first key to free yourself is simple and powerful. Distinguish what truly hurts of what your mind is adding to the pain. When you manage to see it, something is transformed. Suddenly, the stone ceases to be an enemy and begins to reveal herself as a teacher. It is no longer just an obstacle in your path, it is the voice that invites you to cultivate patience, to practice love with yourself, and discover that even in the midst of pain, there is a space of compassion that always belongs to you. Lesson 1. Pain as a visitor. not as an identity. The first mistake we usually make in the face of pain is to confuse it with our identity. When the body hurts, many times the mind says, "I am my pain. This is me. This is my destination." And so little by little, we stopped seeing each other as a complete being to become in a walking wound. Buddhism invites us to change that perspective. You are not your pain. You are not your illness. You are not your limitation physics. Pain is a visitor, not the owner of the house. He arrives, knocks on the door, he may even stay a while, but he doesn't have right to appropriate your essence. When you say, "Pain visits me," you open a space of inner freedom. You are no longer trapped in it because you recognize that there is something bigger inside of you who watches and holds it. That something is your conscience, your true self, nature, which remains intact even when the body passes through evidence. This difference seems subtle, but it changes everything. If you identify with it, pain, you sink into it. If you recognize him as a visitor, you discover that you still have a home interior full of light, and that pain is just passing through one of the rooms. Music, the practice, consists of remembering, even in the most intense moments, this hurts, but it's not me, it's a visit, not my identity. And so, little by little, the load becomes heavier light, because you no longer define your life by the wound, but by force and the consciousness with which you go through it. Teaching 2, breathing into the wound. When pain appears, the first thing that what the mind usually does is resist, tense, gets angry, rejects what is feeling. That resistance generates a second pain, heavier than the first one. It's like clench a fist tightly around a thorn. Instead of relieving, we sink even further. Buddhism teaches a different path. No is to flee, nor to fight, nor to harden yourself, but breathe into the wound. Gently bring your attention to the area where it hurts, not as an enemy who wants to expel what bothers, but as an ally that accompanies with compassion. Close your eyes, inhale softness, and feels the air coming in like a balm. Exhale resistance, and with each breath allows the tension dissolve a little more. By repeating this cycle, the body starts receiving a message completely different. I'm with you, not against you. Pain is no longer a war, but a dialogue, and that transformation alone opens a space of relief, not because the pain disappears completely, but because you stop multiplying it with your endurance. Breathing into the wound is an act of love towards yourself. It's telling your body, I hear you, I accompany you. You are not alone in this test. And when your body perceives that alliance with your mind, suffering is softened, the load is lightened, and what before seemed unbearable becomes a path of presence and peace. Teaching 3, separate pain from suffering. Pain is inevitably physical, a stab, a pressure, a wound that the body records in its language, silent. But suffering is something else. Suffering is not born from the body, but of the mind. It is the story we weave around the pain, the thoughts that multiply and turn it into a wall. When the body hurts, the mind usually adds phrases like, I can't take it anymore, this will never end, why does this happen to me? And those phrases, although they seem simple thoughts, are invisible chains that make the pain heavier than the wound itself. The Buddha taught that learning to separate pain of suffering is to recover the freedom. The pain is here, right now, like a specific sensation in the body. Suffering, on the other hand, is all that the mind projects. Memories of yesterday, fears of tomorrow, resistances accumulated. Ask yourself honestly, what part of this pain belongs only to my body? And what part am I creating with my way of thinking about it? When making this distinction, something happens deep. You regain power because you can't completely eliminate the pain, but you can add to the weight of suffering. And when you achieve that, you discover that unbearable begins to be manageable. Separating pain from suffering is like open a window in a room closed. Fresh air comes in, and although the pain continued to be present, no longer suffocating from its manner, there is room to breathe, to rest, to remember that within you there is something greater than any wound. Teaching for the body as teacher. Pain, although uncomfortable, is not always comes as an enemy. He often appears as a messenger, like a voice trying to tell you something that you had ignored for too long time. Every twinge, every tension, every annoyance is also a call. Ente rest. Take care of this space of yours that you have neglected. In a world that pushes you to run, to produce, to demand of you without pause, body finds in pain the only way to be heard. Buddhism teaches that everything that arises has a cause, and that even pain is part of that chain of causes and conditions. It is not a punishment, it is a warning. It is not condemnation, it is a sign. When you look at it like that, the pain stops. Be just an obstacle and becomes teacher. A pain in the back can teach you that you are carrying too much weight, not only physical, but emotional. A pain in the head can show you that your mind has been filled with tension, unresolved. Chronic pain can remind you of the importance of living more gently and less struggle. The question then changes form. It's not anymore, why is this happening to me? But what is this showing me? And in that transformation, pain reveals his true teaching. Learn to inhabit yourself with more love. To treat your body not like a machine that must resist everything, but as a living temple that deserves listening, care, and compassion. When you honor that wisdom, the pain stops being an executioner and becomes a guide, because every time you hear it with patience, you are learning the art deeper, the art of taking care of yourself. Same with true consciousness. Pause and think about everything that we have explored so far. Pain as a visitor, breathing that softens the difference between pain and suffering, the body as teacher. Notes as behind every teaching there is the same message. The pain did not come to destroy you, but to show you a deeper path towards yourself. Ask yourself, what is wanting me? Show my body through this pain. What part of me needs attention, care, or rest? Am I able to accompany myself with love instead of fighting against myself? Music, when you change the way you look at your pain, it also changes the way you feel it, you live. And the most direct way to start listening to him with compassion is getting closer to him. Not with rejection, but with attention, aware. Therefore, I want to guide you now in a simple but transformative practice. Compassionate body scanning, an invitation to explore every part of you with presence and gratitude, for recognize that your body is not the enemy, but your most faithful companion in this journey. The body keeps memories that the mind sometimes forgets, tensions that come from old worries, pains that are traces of past experiences, knots that are not only physical, but also emotional and spiritual. Buddhism teaches that everything that appears in us deserves attention, aware, because what we ignore becomes accumulated suffering. Therefore, one of the most important practices powerful is the compassionate scanning of the body, an act of recognition and love towards yourself. Sit or lie down in one place, don't worry. Close your eyes and begin to explore your body with attention from the crown to the tips of the toes. Don't rush, allow each part to from you becomes a territory that you explore with patience. And when you find a pain point of rigidity or tension, do not reject it, don't even curse him, do the opposite. I mentally said, I recognize you. Thank you for showing me where to heal. This simple gesture is profoundly transformative, because instead of fighting against your body, you enter into alliance with He. You stop seeing it as a battlefield, and you start to see Him as a teacher who it shows you where light and rest are needed, or tenderness. Every time you practice this scan, you will feel how something changes. The stiffness softens, the load emotional is released, and your mind learns to listen instead of resist. It is a silent reminder that your body is not your enemy, it is your companion on a trip, and all He asks is to be listened to with compassion. When you make this practice a habit, the pain stops being just a burden and turns into a map. A map that instead of pointing out what is broken, it shows you the way to your own healing. This simple gesture changes the battle internal for a care relationship. For this understanding to be engraved in the deeper inside you, we are going to seal it with some statements conscious. Each phrase you repeat will be like a seed planted in your heart, reminding you that you are stronger, more spacious, and brighter than any wound. Close your eyes for a moment and take your pay attention to where your body stores pain. Imagine that every word you are going to pronouncing is like a balm, like a caress of light that you wrap around from that area. Don't repeat these phrases as simple words. Feel them like seeds that you sow in the depths of yourself. Repeat after me in a low voice or mentally. Pain may dwell in me, but not defines who I am. I breathe calm and let the discomfort go. Softens with each exhalation. My body is not an enemy. It is a teacher who teaches me to listen, now, care. I accept this moment with tenderness and compassion, not with struggle or resistance. Music, I am vaster, brighter, and freer than any passing pain. He remains silent for a few seconds, breathing softly. Feel like these statements are not true. They do not remain in your mind, but they descend to your heart and expand it. Because deep inside you, more beyond the pain, there is always an untouched space of peace and strength. Find a quiet place and light a white candle. Look at her in silence. Her flame dances, fragile and strong at the same time. That light is a reflection of your vitality. Even if the wind blows, it remains lit. Close your eyes for a moment and take your hands to the place on your body where you feel pain. Take a deep breath without rushing. With each inhalation, move closer to your own inner strength. With each exhalation, imagine that the light of the candle expands and enters that painful area, wrapping it with a blanket of warmth, relief, and tenderness. Stay like this for a few minutes, as if you were bathing your wound with clarity and compassion. And while you do it, repeat in a low voice or mentally, "The light lives within me. The pain does not lock it up. I'm bigger than this wound." Let these words and the image of the flame are engraved inside you. When you open your eyes, remember, every once the pain returns, that light it is also inside you, waiting to be lit. Remember, pain is part of life, but it is not meant to chain you. Every wound can be a prison, or it can become a portal. The choice is always yours. Live caught in the complaint, or walking with more awareness towards a wiser relationship and compassionate with your body. I would love to read you in the comments. What teaching today resonated the most deeply with you? What practice do you feel you could start applying to transform your way to inhabit pain? If these words awakened something in you, interior, it will be an honor to continue walking together along this path. Here, we do not deny discomfort, nor run away from it, from the pain. We embrace it, we understand it, and we transform it into light and wisdom. that even in the most difficult days you discover that inside you there is a place untouchable calm, a peace that no wound can snatch you away. See you in the next video. Hugs, light.